Okay. You have your phone? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Anjaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jai Mr. Paramahansa Parajikacharya Ashtottara Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parajikacharya Ashtottara Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavin Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktabhinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashtaprayesha Bandreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Can you pull the curtains for me? Thanks. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 12th day of August, 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in Canto 7, The Science of God, Chapter 10, Prahlad, the Best Among Exalted Devotees, text number 50.
50 or 51?
Is it 51?
That said 50, but it wasn't changed. So that was yesterday.
No, we haven't read 50. I would have remembered chanting this. What do you think, Averell? 50 or 51?
It is 50, Prabhu.
Tapas? 50, okay. 50 it is. Na yasya sakshad bhava padmajaribi. Na yasya sakshad bhava padmajaribi. Rupam diya vastutayopavarnitam. Rupam diya vastutayopavarnitam. Let's try that again. Rupam diya vastutayopavarnitam. Maunena bhaktiyopashamena pujitaha. Maunena bhaktiyopashamena pujitaha. Prasidatam esha sa satpatam patihi. Prasidatam esha sa satpatam patihi. Nayasya sakshad bhavapadmajadibhi. Rupam diyavastutayopavarnitam. Maunena bhaktiyopashamena pujitah. Prasidatam esha sa satpatam patihi. Nayasya sakshad bhavapadmajadibhi. Rupam diyavastutayopavarnitam. Maunena bhaktiyopashamena pujita. Prasidatam esha sa satpatam patihi. Okay, before we chant, the kicking of the syllables ending in H with a dhananura, only on the second line and the fourth line at the end. It's not pujitaha, it's just pujitah. Okay? But it is patihi. You understand? Same. Not same. Patihi, you're kicking the syllable, but you don't say pujitaha when you chant it in a verse form. I'll explain it later if you want. Okay, go ahead, Bir. You want? I said Bir. Nayasya sakshad bhavapadmajadibhi. All right, I didn't do it 3 times. That's okay. Rupam diyavastutayopavarnitam. Maunena bhaktiyopashamena pujitah. Prasidatam esha sa satpatam patihi. Nayasya sakshad bhavapadmajadibhi. Rupam diyavastutayopavarnitam. Maunena bhaktiyopashamena pujita. Prasidatam esha sa satpatam patihi. Nayasya sakshad bhavapadmajadibhi. Rupam diyavastutayopavarnitam. Maunena bhaktiyopashamena pujitah. Prasidatam esha sa satpatam patihi. Na yasya sakshad bhavapadmajari bi. Rupang diyavastuteyo pavarnitam. Maunena bhaktyo pashamena pujitah. Pasidatamesha sasatpatam patihi. Give him a chance. Let him see. Nayasya sakshad bhavapadmajari bi. Rupang diyavastuteyo pavarnitam. Maunena bhaktyo pashamena pujitah. Pasidatamesha sasatpatam patihi. Anyone online?
Nayasya sakshad bhava padmajari bi.
Nayasya sakshad bhavapadmajari bi.
Rupam diya vastutayo pavarnitam.
Rupam diyavastuteyo pavarnitam.
Maunena bhaktyo pashamena pujita.
Maunena bhaktyo pashamena pujita.
Prasidatam esha satvatam patihi.
Pasidatamesha sasatpatam patihi. Na, not. Yasya, of whom. Sakshad, directly. Bhava, Lord Śiva. Padmaja, Lord Brahmā, born from the lotus. Adibihi, by them and others also. Rupam, the form. Diya, even by meditation. Vastuteya, fundamentally. Upavarnitam, described and perceived. Maunena, by samadhi, deep meditation. Bhaktya, by devotional service. Upashamena, by renunciation. Pujitaha, worshipped. Pasidatam, may he be pleased. Eshaha, this. Saha, he. Satvatam, of the great devotees. Patihi, the master. Translation. Exalted persons like Lord Śiva and Lord Brahmā could not properly describe the truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa. May the Lord, who is always worshipped as the protector of all devotees by great saints who observe vows of silence, meditation, devotional service, and renunciation, be pleased with us. So who is speaking? Is this Nārada Muni, I think? The absolute truth is sought by different persons in different ways, yet he remains inconceivable. Nonetheless, devotees like the Pandavas, the Gopis, the cowherd boys, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, and all the inhabitants of Vrindavan do not need to practice conventional processes of meditation to attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for he remains with them through thick and thin. Therefore, a saint like Nārada, understanding the difference between transcendentalists and pure devotees, always prays that the Lord will be pleased with him. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Milatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, those who have been paying attention may have noticed the theme here in the purport, thick and thin. We have it both in yesterday's purport and this purport. But there's a difference. I did my research here on yesterday's purport, and in the same way, a pure devotee of the Lord is always with Krishna through thick and thin. His way of life is Krishna. So this is the devotee who's staying with Krishna through thick and thin. You see? He's always with Krishna through thick and thin. But today we read how Krishna is always with the devotee through thick and thin. You see? So one is on the side of the devotee, and now Krishna responds. None is a whole list here. None are all the inhabitants of Vrindavan. They do not need to practice conventional processes of meditation to attain the Lord, because He remains with them through thick and thin. So, did I do Om Jnana? Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Śiva Parampara. And thank you, ladies, for coming. You've increased our attendance by 33%. Hare Krishna. Of course, we have hundreds out there on YouTube, maybe. Okay, so this is Nārada Muni. He's speaking to Yudhishthira, and he's glorifying the devotees of Krishna, especially those who are in the deep compact of love and devotion with him, because that's what he really responds to. He says in this verse, exalted persons like Śiva and Brahmā could not properly describe the truth of the Supreme Lord Krishna. May that Lord, who is always worshipped as the protector of all devotees by great saints who observe vows of silence, meditation, devotional service, and renunciation, be pleased with us. So this is a cardinal point in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, as preached by Lord Chaitanya and taught to his disciples and expounded upon by Rupa Goswami and a whole bevy of great scholars and devotees. And that is that Krishna is not so much interested in the technical processes of thinking of him, of meditating on him. The 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita deals with this Ashtanga Yoga. It's called Dhyana Yoga. And Krishna gives an outline there of the classic process of first, the first process is yama and then niyama. Yama is the don'ts and niyama is the do's. In other words, don't have illicit sex, gambling, intoxicating, and meat eating. That's for us, that's that. And for yogis, there's so many don'ts. Don't live in a congested city. You know, you have to go to a secluded, sacred place, some in the Himalayas or something. And don't be married. Basically, they're all ascetics, sannyasis, yogis, you know. That's sort of big distraction. And so on and on like that. And then the do's, then it merges into the next to the asana. How you sit, you know, where you sit, what you look at is it the tip of the nose or is it the agra? I think it's up here, between the eyebrows, right? So there's a little confusion there, because nas agra means the beginning of the nose. Does it begin down here or does it begin up here? It really begins up here. So it's between the eyebrows. So you're sitting there and you're controlling the breath and you're trying to see the Lord within the heart, and there's some descriptions like that, you know. But all of those efforts are not that pleasing to Krishna, because he's looking for devotion and love, you see. And so the yogis, if they're really successful, they realize the super soul in the heart. And what's the main danger of that type of yoga? You develop all kinds of powers automatically, you know. These different siddhis, you become lighter than the lightest, heavier than the heaviest. You can get anything you want from any place. I immediately thought, wow, they could get all the gold from Fort Knox, you know, whatever. Prabhupada said he had a teacher or a friend who told him that he knew a yogi, who was in Delhi, I think, and he asked his father or something, what would you like? Well, if I really could have anything, I want some pomegranates from Kashmir. You know, they're known for pomegranates. So I don't know if he meditated or did anything or said any mantras, but then he told him, look in the other room. He looks in the bedroom, and all on the bed are all these branches of fresh pomegranates attached to them. Miracle of miracles, you know. Then there was the other one. I think Prabhupada heard this story also. And it was during the British Raj. And Delhi is pretty close to Himalayas, so the yogis would sometimes wander down there, just like they come down to Prayag for the Kumbh Mela. And he had the siddhi of anima, being able to really shrink down, smaller than the smallest. So he's walking, as they often do, he's walking on the streets of Delhi in naked. So it's the British Raj, they're trying to enforce, the Western morality. It's no good, so they arrested him. Next morning, he's out on the street. What is this? We arrested him. What do you do? Pick the lock? So they put him back in there. Check the lock. Okay. Next morning, he's out on the street. He was shaking him down and getting out of through the keyhole or through so finally they gave up. So the danger to get those siddhis is that you become attached to the siddhis. That's why in Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Sanatan, he has who can really be peaceful in life, you see? So he starts out with who's peaceful. Kṛṣṇa bhakta nishkama ateva shanta. They're peaceful because they don't want anything. But when you realize that what makes you unpeaceful, that, I want this or I want that, sometimes you want negative things, I want you to get away from me, but I can't, but you keep bothering me. There's a million different things that you want, and that's always disturbing to the mind, because it means you don't have them yet. So the first line is, Kṛṣṇa bhakta nishkama ateva shanta. And then he has a list, bhukti, mukti, siddhi, kami, sakali, ashanta. So the bhukti kamis, those are just ordinary karmis who want material sense gratification. So they're not peaceful, because they can never have enough, and if they do get enough, then they get sick, or they damage themselves. They get more than they need. So they can never really be peaceful, for real long anyway. And then you have mukti kamis, those who want liberation, you see? That's also a material desire. Remember, jumping to the very end now of Prahlad's, the story of Prahlad and the Shringadev. Although it goes on with Prahlad as the king. He's wandering in the forest, he meets the man who's just lying there. You remember that? There's a whole pastime there. But anyway, so one of Prahlad's main prayers I keep coming back to, it's part of the two prayers that really give us the mood of Sankirtan as shown by Lord Chaitanya. And the first one is this famous, Prabhupada mostly quoted this one, Naivod Vijay, Padaturatya Vaitaranyas, Padviya Gayana Mahamata Magna Chitta, Sholche Tato Vimukacheta Sa Indiyata Maya Sukhaya Badamudvato Vimudhan. I don't know if you recognize the Sanskrit. But Naivod Vijay, I'm not at all disturbed. I'm completely, he's speaking directly to Lord Nrsimhadev. I'm completely at peace. Because I've already crossed over the river of birth and death, Vaitarani River. There's a river between the material and spiritual world. And he's crossed over it. Why has he crossed over it? Because he's always with Nrsimhadev, and Nrsimhadev lives over there. So therefore, at any time, I can merge my mind into an ocean of nectar and happiness. How? Tadviya Gayana. By singing about your powerful glories and pastimes and things like glorifying the Lord. Then he immediately becomes blissful, even if he's sitting there in a pot of boiling oil. You remember when his father was trying to kill him? This is what he was doing. He was meditating on the Shringadev and Krishna in all different varieties of waves, and within his mind, singing of them, and he was peaceful and happy, even in that situation. So, but then the next line, amazingly, he said, Shoche, I'm lamenting. Well, what is this? You just said you have no problem. What is this lamenting? Socheta tova mukacheta indriyata bhaya socheta tova mukacheta indriyata maya sukhaya bodhamudvahatova mudhan. He's lamenting for these, not just the mudhas, vimudhas, means very, very foolish persons, who are spending their lives bearing the great burden of trying to maintain a life of sense gratification, getting maya sukhaya, illusory happiness. So he's perceiving that as he's surrounded by people like that. He's teaching his friends. They made some advancement, but this is the world. So he's lamenting there. What is he going to do? Well, he's going to try to save them. He's going to be preaching. You see, he's not. So then the next verse he clinches it, and that's the one that I was thinking here. I was reminded of. Prayena deva munayo swavamukti kama. Swavamukti kama. Swa is my own. Vimukti is liberation. Kama, my lusty desire for my own liberation. In other words, I want to be free from birth, old age, disease, and that's what heck with everyone else. I'm just going to, go to the Himalayas or whatever, you see. Or, as he says, maunam charanti, they are silent. They go silent. The word muni comes from silence. Those who keep silence all the time, supposedly very erudite, they're munis. So maunam charanti, they wander. Vijane, where there's no people. Napararta nishta, not at all determined to help others. He's painting the image of the yogis and the muktivads who are simply concerned with themselves getting free from birth and death. This is not spiritual. It's condemned by Sridhar Swami at the beginning of the Bhagavatam. What is the second verse? Who does it begin? Yes. Dharma, Projidikaitavo. Maybe you didn't know. Yeah. Famous verse. Dharma, it's a description of the book. The first verse is a description of the subject of the book, and the second verse is a description also of the subject, but has other things, who wrote it, and value, and how you can utilize it. So the verse words are Dharma Projidikaitavo Tra. Now there's a nice lecture by Gopi Purana on this verse, and he points out that the word Atra appears 3 times in this verse. So it means Atra, here in this book, you'll find what? Dharma Projidikaitavo Tra. That cheating religion is kicked out, cheating Dharma. Whatever you find here in terms of Dharma, it's Param Dharma. It's the Supreme Dharma. We're concerned with the Supreme Dharma. So what is part? So Sridhar Swami says, desire for one's own liberation is also cheating religion, because it doesn't get you any closer to bhakti for Krishna. You see. So that's the second. Krishna Bhakti Dasa no. But the first line of that bhakti. Anyway, those who are devotees are peaceful because they don't want anything. They're free of material desire, the karma. But those mukti bhukti siddhi kama. Oh, I see. Krishna bhakta nishkama ata eva shanta. The Krishna bhaktas are free of all material desire. Therefore, ata eva, they're peaceful. They alone can be peaceful. Prahlad is the perfect example. But bhukti, mukti, siddhi kami. So he's going through a list. Bhukti kamis are ordinary karmis. Mukti kamis I described. Then you have the siddhi kamis. Those are the yogis who sit down for maybe wanting to get liberated, but then they get, material powers, and they become enamored of those material powers. And perfect example, Durvasa Muni. He had mystic powers, but he would try to kill Ajamil. He was envious of him because he was getting only honor. In other words, there's no purification of the heart just by becoming a very powerful yogi. Who did we just read about? Hiranyakashipu was a super powerful yogi. The austerities he performed are unheard of, and he became so powerful he was ruling the whole universe. But he certainly wasn't close to Krishna. I mean, eventually he became close physically, but that wasn't such a happy thing for him. But you know what I'm saying? Just austerity alone or yoga alone is not bhakti. There has to be that element of cultivating attachment for Krishna and practicing those things that help you to get attached to Krishna. So we want more than peace. Peace is a byproduct of Krishna consciousness. We are looking for that greatest treasure, which is Krishna prema. That includes all the peace and all of the liberation you may need. There's this wonderful verse by Bilvamangal Thakur near the end of his Krishna Karnamrita, often quoted for this, how you don't have to worry about mukti if you're a bhakta, a serious bhakta. Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitamati, no. Bhakti stvayis tidatada bhagavan yadi syad. He's speaking directly to Krishna, as he often does. He can't see, but he sees Krishna with his spiritual eyes all the time. It says, Bhakti stvayis tidatada bhagavan yadi syad. Daivedanak patati divya kishora murti. Mukti swayam mukaditanjali sevatesman dharmartha kamagata yaksamayak patiksha. Meaning that, my dear Lord, if someone is very fixed in devotion, you bhakti stvai stiratada, firm and serious devotion, O Bhagavan, then yadi syad, then you get the fruit of that. Daivedanak palati, it will fructify into the fruit. What is that fruit? Is it mukti? Is it bhakti? Is it billions of dollars? No. Bhakti Swayam Sarara Bhagavan Nidisa Daivena Nag Palati Divya Kishora Murti. The real fruit is a vision of your beautiful adolescent form, intimate form. See? In other words, you appear to them yourself. And as far as Mukti is concerned, Mukti Swaya, Mukti personified, is waiting at the door with the Anjali Mudra. We know this from Pushpanjali, right? So what's the thing? You're making an offering. You're not just praying for the Lord, please save me from this. You see, this is the prayer. This is the Western mudra. But you don't see this. This is it, because there's something in there. There's flowers, Pushpanjali, your heart, your offering, you see. So Mukti Swayam Mukalitanjali, she wants to serve you. She's waiting at the door to serve you. You got all the Mukti you need. And as far as Dharma, Artha, and Kama, the other three of the four, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, they're also there. Whatever you need of Dharma, or Lakshmi is there. Find it, yes, you can go and buy your medicine, whatever you need. In other words, you don't need anything else but pure bhakti. Everything is provided. That's the idea. So that's the one of the points here. That the absolute truth is sought in different ways by different person, but he remains inconceivable. Yet devotees like the Pandavas, the Gopis, the cowherd boys, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, these are the most advanced, living entities in existence. They're not really in the material world, although they may be in, Bhoma Vrindavan for some time. They don't need to practice any conventional processes of meditation to attain the Lord. He remains with them through thick and thin. And this is, we were seeing that yesterday. We were speaking of Arjuna on chariot, or maybe that was coming through on my screen. I'm dealing with all these different things. But we mentioned in that, is that Krishna, Arjuna is an eternal friend of Krishna. He keeps appearing with him in different universes. But he forgets. Remember at the beginning of the fourth chapter, Krishna says, Imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyam vivasvamanave praha manonikshvakave bravit. Said, I spoke this same science of Bhagavad Gita to Vivasvan, the sun god, who spoke it to his son, the Manu, Vaivasvata Manu, who then spoke it to Ikshvaku, and this way it came down to the earthly planets and human beings. And so Arjuna, and evam parampara praptam, and this way it's come down through the parampara, the cyclic succession, but now due to the powerful force of time, it's been broken. The science is lost. He's speaking on the verge of the Kali Yuga, the end of it. So therefore I'm speaking to you, and you're going to maintain it in another, the cyclic succession. So Arjuna says, how's that? We're contemporaries. How did you speak to the sun god millions of years ago? That doesn't compute. So Krishna is encouraging him, Bahuni me vatitani janmani tabacharjana. Both of us have had many births. And you've always been, when I appear, you also appear. You're my eternal friend. But you forget them. You forget those births because you change your bodies. This is the difference. Krishna never changes his body. His body is eternal spirit. You see? So these eternal associates of Krishna, they're in their Swarup city. They're in their eternal bodies also. This is the whole idea, is that we have a perfect form, Swarup city, just suitable for our eternal rasa with Krishna. It could be a cowherd boy, it could be a cowherd girl, it could be a cow. I think Mukunda's a cow. Would you want to be a cow? I'm just kidding. No, he's going to be an eternal musician in the spiritual world. Cute. But the point is that we don't know what that is. We've been going through all these other forms that aren't us. None of these are really us. These are just particular forms we have due to our karma. But now, due to the process of devotional service, we're in the process of discovering that eternal Siddha Sarup, if you will, or what is it, Sarup Siddhi? There's so many names for it, but it's our eternal form with which we can perfectly serve Krishna in our eternal mood. But that's good. So we need to discover that. Now, having faith that this isn't really me, that this is just the covering of the realm, that's step one in bhakti. To understand that we need to develop our understanding of and our awareness of who we are, and that's developed by serving Krishna and becoming absorbed in thought of Krishna. Because from within, he can purify all of the abhadras and all of the anartas. That's very prominently stated, second chapter, beginning text 17, I believe. Shrinvatam sakata Krishna punya shabana kirtana rindandaksto yabhadrani vidunoti suritsatam. Now the most endearing aspect of that verse is the very end. Suritsatam. For his devotees, especially, they understand him to be the surit, the best friend, well-wishing friend. Prabhupada would always sign his letters, your ever well-wisher. He was taking the role of Krishna, as doing everything that he could to help as many as would be receptive to it. So Krishna is the original surit. What's the verse? Bhoktaram yagitsapatam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gatva mam shantam richati. So the third line is Suridam Sarvabhutanam. Krishna is the best friend of everyone, but we don't want to recognize him as a friend. We ignore him, we forget him. And therefore he guides us, throughout our sojourn in the material world, and he sends his representatives, like Srila Prabhupada, to deal with us that we can see him and serve him and we can hear him. And so that we can get that seed planted, the seed of the creeper of devotion. And as soon as that contact is made, then Krishna is helping from within, depending on our sincerity. He's giving us the intelligence by which we can come to him. Isn't that also in the Bhagavad Gita? That's right there in those four most important verses. So how does that work? So first of all, Krishna, he declares himself to be that source of everything that is said to be the goal of the first Vedanta Sutra. You should inquire, tato Brahma jigyasa, that Brahma, defined in the second verse, Janma Jasya Yataha, is the source of everything. And then not just Janma, but Adi, what comes after birth. There's three phases of everything that comes into being. Birth, he's got his hand up. Maintenance, he knew the answer. Then then you stay for some time, right? Actually, there's six things. For anything that's alive. You're born, you grow, you stay for some time, produce byproducts, children, whatever, dwindling, death. 6 changes, shadbikar is said. Any organism that comes into being goes into those. Sometimes it happens all in one day. Prabhupada says there's these insects in India that they're born at night, or they're born in the evening, I forget. But they just stay for one day, their whole cycle. The whole birth cycle. So, Krishna is waiting. He's with us all the time. He's within our heart. And when we are fortunate enough to meet someone who can instruct us, it can come through media, through books, through the screen, somehow or other, that transcendental sound enters our mind, our heart, and we become inquisitive. We're attracted to it, rather than just, that's just a bunch, who cares? Like a million people, you go out on Harinam, used to go every Friday night. And you remember some of those Friday nights, right? So you're going by, and most of the people, if they look up from their drink and to look at the devotees, that's a victory. Most of the time they're just busy with their thing. And it's suspicious for them because they heard the holy name, don't get me wrong. But it may take many births for them to come to the point of being receptive to the message, being curious. What are they all about? Taking some literature, So that's the situation here. And here, this verse, I think he's coming to the conclusion here, that he's describing, and in Prabhupada in the purport is describing, those they don't need to practice any conventional process of meditation. They don't need to practice at all. They're already there. This is Mother Yashoda, Nanda, the cowherd boys, the gopis. They're already in their eternal form. And every day is a new day of adventure with Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan, in their particular rasa. Never a dull moment. They ask Prabhupada, there's no demons in the Goloka. What happened to all that? He says, yes, but there's a hint of the demons. There may be a cloud, and then they think our Ashtasura is coming so Krishna can save them. You see? So that same mood of being in danger, being saved by Krishna, that's also there. They feel. So it's every day is fresh. The varieties of the rasa are infinite. So that's our original position. And this Prahlāda is so exemplary in so many ways. There's so many chapters here devoted, the bulk of the 7th canon. And I just always think of the verse describing the sadhu, the sadhu sangashtaka, the teachings of Kapila Deva in the 3rd canto, begins with these 8 verses describing the importance of associating with the sadhus. And who is the sadhu? Immediately Prahlāda comes to mind. Titikṣava, tolerance. What could be more? We could be more tolerant than Prahlāda. Titikṣava karunika, surida sarvadehina, ajata shatravak shanta, sadhavak sadhubhushana. Now the interesting thing is, those qualities, it doesn't mention bhakti. What about the bhakti? That's how we get the qualities in the next verse. Kapila Deva speaking, he's an incarnation of Krishna. Maya ananyena bhavena bhaktim kurvantaye dvidham matkrate tikta karmanas tikta svajana bandhava. So the quality is tolerance and then mercy. They go together. If you're trying to be merciful and you go out to try to, then you're going to get so much, rejection. Sometimes devotees used to get arrested to go out on Harinam, and Prabhupada said, "Don't worry, just keep chanting in the jail." Prabhupada tells how in Australia that was going on a lot. They would round them up, and then this archbishop. He would somehow, I don't know how he got a book or he met Prabhupada or something, but he said, no, these are genuine religious people, don't do that. And immediately, no, they didn't get arrested anymore because he had this ecclesiastical authority. So that happens a lot. So the Titikṣava, and the ideal Prabhupada would mention, Jesus Christ. He wouldn't stop preaching even though they, on the cross. So that they go together. Titikṣa Suridak Sarvadehinam, again this idea, the friend of every living being. And Prabhupada, when he would always make the point, including the cows, you had all living beings, especially the cows and of course all the people. Suridak, the best friend, meaning you're preaching, meaning you're trying to give them the most valuable thing by which they can be saved. Krishna consciousness. And because of all this mood, ajata shatra, you have no enmity toward anyone. Of course, the people they have enmity toward you. But this is your feeling. You have no enemies in that regard. Ajata shata is never born. Your enemy is never born. Ajata shata, and for all of this shanta, again shanta, peaceful. You have no material desire. That's of course you go to the very end of the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. You'll see that's Krishna's talking about peace, and he talks about the same idea. Being free of material desire makes you peaceful. Your only desire is Krishna, and he's always available. You just chant Hare Krishna. In that regard, you can always be there. And so sadhavak sadhubhushan, these are the ornaments of a sadhu, and the way of getting that, developing those qualities is maya ananyena bhavena bhaktim kurvantaye dvidham, very determined devotional service unto me, says Lord Kapila. Ananyena means unalloyed. And what are some of the symptoms? Matkrate tyakta karmanas. For my sake, they'll give up any activity that they're attached to, material activity. And even matkrate tyakta karmana tyakta swajana bandhava. If your relatives and your associates are impediments, you also have to give up association with them. It could be, you're living in a family life, you're all devotees and everything, that's fine. But association is everything. If you associate with demons, you're going to be a demon. So you have to get free from that, or you have to turn them into devotees. The powerful devotees can do that. So that's the quality, and which was just remind, Prahlāda's whole activity here. He embodies that. The sadhu, the preacher, the tolerance. And even as a king, you'll see, he's manifesting the same qualities. This is why he's a Mahajan. And he's so worshipable. And it's worth studying, so much in his prayers, philosophy, and in his teachings to his friends. There's some very great lessons. Somehow the one that sticks in my mind, I remember when I first read, this chapter where he's teaching his friends, he compares materialistic household life to a silkworm. He's weaving his cocoon, you know, and he's very happy there in the cocoon. Now he's got his home, and he's like, but the one who's growing the silk maker, he's just waiting until it's mature, and then he puts them into hot water, and that's the end of the silkworm. That's how they make silk. That's why we're not supposed to wear ordinary silk. But anyway, and that's the end of it. So the dream of security and happiness in this cozy silk, you know, cocoon is like being, I got it made now. You know, I got the wife and the kids and the home and the job, and I'm all right. You know, no, it's not all right. It's just a whole bunch of attachments that keep you bound to this world. So he says, if there are impediments, if it's not, you know, it's certainly grihastha ashram, there's no question. But that also has to be given up. And many, you know, the Prabhupada's devotees who joined, especially in the early days, they did give it up. You know, some of the, you know, you may not know the history so well, but 1968, upstate New York, Rupanuga Prabhu, who was one of Prabhupada's first leaders, he joined at 26 Second Avenue, but he was senior. He was in his late 20s rather than early 20s. There were a few of those. He had a degree in something. He was able to get a teaching job in the University of Buffalo. And he had a course. I don't know if it was called Krishna Consciousness, but that's what he was teaching there in this course for credit. And so many incredible, you know, leaders of the movement came out of there. One of the ones that I especially appreciate was Kṛṣṇa. Does that name ring a bell? But maybe not. He was a little bit of an avaduta. He came here for a while. I wasn't here. This was way before. This was in the 70s. And what to do? Everyone was distributing books, so they sent him out. He was always wearing a T-shirt, not a T-shirt, but a sweatshirt. You know, even in the heat, I think. But he would stand on the corner and he would just hand the books. He'd just hold his arm out. I don't know if he distributed any books or not. Maybe one or two. But he was a genius. He was like a mad genius. You know, a little odd, but very, very intelligent. I remember Jayatirtha. He knew the whole Bhagavad Gita by heart. You know, so he brought him to New Dwarka. He said to teach class in the Bhagavad Gita. So we went for the first class, and the whole temple was there. But his teaching was style. He was dealing with everyone like they were in kindergarten. You know. It didn't work out, you know. But he got a position there in the BBT as the Sanskrit editor. He taught himself Sanskrit in a matter of months. And he was there with all the other Sanskritists, and gradually they left because the books were finished. This was in 78, 77, 78. So Prabhupada finished his books, and there wasn't really a need for a whole Sanskrit department. So he ended up being the Sanskrit department. And what was the main job he was doing for the BBT? During the Vyasa Puja marathon, when we put the Vyasa Puja book, I was even involved way back then, we'd have all the names of the devotees in each temple. And as the movement grew, you'd have 100 names, 200 names. They all had to be spelled correctly in Sanskrit. All right, that was Kṛṣṇa's job. He had about 2 weeks of work in there. You know. But what about the rest of the year? So he learned, so he decided to start translating some of the works of the Goswamis. And he started with Rupa Goswami's Stavamala, but not just the whole Stavamala, but the Mukunda Muktavali. And I was living like next door to him in the BBT. So everyone knew, you know, when CC came out, I started chanting the shlokas at the beginning and everything, you know, and everyone knew I was a shloka guy, you know. So he said, hey, Dravida, like, check this one out. So I was like, oh, wow. Muktaharam dadududachakrakaram saram gopi manasi manijaropi kopi kangse kalanakadambo tangse bangse rangi dashitadading dakshangi. I don't have time to tell you all what it means exactly. But that's an example of the verses. Beautiful Sanskrit. I said, oh, Kṛṣṇa, keep doing it, you know. So at first he was going to translate the Vedas, and he sent away to India to get the Vedas, but it took forever, you know, by ship, so he got impatient. So he took a book that all the Sanskrit guys had, which is all the writings of the Goswamis in one book, just the Sanskrit, just the Devanagari, very compact. You can really pack a lot in there. So he had one of those, and he picked out Rupa Goswami and started. And he ended up translating all that Stavamala, and Raghunath Das Goswami's writings and the writings of Jiva Goswami. He just kept going, you know, for the rest of he lived maybe another 30 years. because he passed away in 2016, 2006, I think. But anyway, I moved out of LA, but we would, this is one amazing thing. So he translated the entire Govinda Lilamrita. Now he, like, bless his heart, he followed Prabhupada's example of giving all the synonyms. You realize how much that increases the bulk of the book, you know? So he translated this entire Govinda Lilamrita, which I think is 20 chapters, but it has over 2,000 verses, some of them very large, and they each had word-by-word meanings, you know. So I'm sitting there in New York, I'm working with the BTG, this is the big building. I had my own room and everything. And it was 1979 probably, maybe 80. And suddenly I get delivered a huge box. I don't know if you're familiar. They have these reams of paper you put in a printer. It's 500 pages. So if you get 10 of those reams together, that's what they have at the Staples. You know, they get delivered. So one of those boxes were there, and it was full of books, something, printout. So what is this? And I saw it was from Kṛṣṇa. He photocopied the entire 2,000 pages or more of the Govinda Lilamrita and sent it to me. Why? Why to me? Because he knew I liked it. But also because he felt that he might get shut down by Ramaswar, because he was printing his own books, you know, and only the BBT. Anyway, he was an amazing figure. I forgot why I got off on speaking about him. But, oh yeah, so by his efforts and efforts of many others now, there is so much available in terms of the writings of the Goswamis. Probably the books is a lifetime of reading. But also he encouraged us to read the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. He said that if you want to understand Lord Chaitanya and Krishna, then you have to read the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. It's right there in the Adi Lila. And that's why Gopi Pranadhana Prabhu and Jayavada Swami and Keshava Bharati, they decided to do that book. That's why we have that book. So anyway, we have a great treasure in the writings of Srila Prabhupada and those who came after him. And we should immerse our mind in it, because understanding these instructions here builds our faith and sustains us, and so that our intelligence can become purified. Remember last night I chanted one of my favorite verses. And how many ways have I sought to obey the seductive demands of my wicked desires? They've shown me no mercy. Yet on I've gone shamelessly trying to quench lust's unquenchable fires. But now I'm rejecting those hellish desires, for my higher intelligence now has awoken. O Krishna, O shelter of fearlessness, please let me serve you with faith that will never be broken. So that's the key, is that your intelligence becomes enlivened by exposure to genuine vibrations about Krishna, spoken by or written by actual devotees. And it can intrigue you enough so that you'll investigate, and if you get good association, you'll take up the process. And I'll end here. And that is, remember those steps, the steps on our path back to Godhead. Rupa Goswami has given, I think there's 9 of them, or 10, from Shraddha to Prema. Ada Shraddha, there must be some preliminary faith, some interest. Everyone who came last night, they have some faith that they're going to get something beneficial, right? So they come. Preliminary faith, Adar Shraddha. And then Sadhu Sangha, association with sadhus, genuine devotees, preferably personally, but also through any medium, such as books, or through any other medium where you can hear. Adar Shraddha Sadhu Sangha. And then if you're fortunate, you'll be inspired to begin bhajan. Maybe you'll chant 2 rounds a day. Maybe maybe you'll really dive in and do more, you know. But you want to practice. Because the promise is that you'll be advanced and you'll experience all these things. So that's their bhajana kriya. And then there comes that essential step of initiation. Why? Why do you need a guru? Why can't we just have everything just shiksha, you know? Because, Prabhupada said, because he can pull your ear. He can get on your case, just like Krishna did when he first spoke to Arjuna. Right? What was the first? Ashochan and Bashochan. You're lamenting for what's not worthy of grief. You're speaking like a pundit. You're not really a pundit. You know. And that comes up in the wonderful verse in the 11th canto. After, I think I mentioned this in other classes. This Aila. Aila is, I think, Pururava. He becomes enamored of Urvashi, you know, the heavenly planet, you know, heavenly damsel. So he's just head over heels, you know, he can't give it up. You know, she leaves him, but he's still hankering for her, so he comes up and once a year he can do it. And finally, he has a song of renunciation. It's called the Ila Gita. For so many years, births, I don't know, maybe several births, he was, I've been enamored of the, you know, this the body of this, it's just, you know, it's foolish. I won't go through the whole Ila Gita. But right after that Ila Gita, Krishna speaks to him. Yeah, it's part of the, that Ila Gita is part of the Uddhava Gita. Krishna's quoting. Then he's speaking to Uddhava, and he sums up in this verse. He says, Tato duk sangam utsrijya satsu sajjeta buddhiman santa eva sachindandi manovyasagam uktabi. Therefore, reject, throw away, kick far away bad association. Tato duk sangam utsrijya, and associate with devotees, associate with sadhu, saints. Satsu means saints. Sajjeta buddhiman, if you're intelligent. Be intelligent and associate with devotees. Why? What's the main thing? And tato santasya satsu sajjeta buddhiman santa evasa chindandi. Santa, the saints, santa evasa chindandi, they can cut out of your consciousness with their sharp words these very strongly impacted material desires. And that's why the guru often immediately chastises the disciple. You nonsense! Why did you do that? Why didn't you follow my instructions? Yes, master, you're right, you know. And if you take it properly, you realize it's a real blessing. You know, if you get upset about it and you leave, then you're unfortunate. But that's the reason. There has to be someone who can do that, who you accept as an authority, who can chastise you and correct you, and you take it, and you just like Vaisheshika is such a wise person. You know, I live to be corrected. A lot of people, you try to get corrected, they go, what are you talking about? You know, I am also a devotee. No. You know, if someone really corrects you, like pronunciation, you know, it's not the most important thing, but it helps, and one should be willing to take correction. That's the first step in advancement, also. All right, it's getting real late. Does anyone have any questions or comments on any of these points, locally or remotely?
Krishna?
All right, hold on. Maybe it is a local. 1, 2, 3, going. Gone. Okay. Go ahead, Vijay.
Dravida Prabhu, do you mind reciting again the second sentence of the purport?
Not at all. But let me find it. This is 50, right?
Yes.
All right.
50.
Nonetheless, beginning nonetheless, right?
Yes.
Nonetheless, devotees like the Pandavas, the Gopis, the cowherd boys, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, and all the inhabitants of Vrindavan do not need to practice conventional processes of meditation to attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for he remains with them through thick and thin.
Yes, that is the sentence. Thank you very much. You're most kind. Dravida Prabhu, based on this sentence, my question is, how do you explain the expression thick and thin in the context of this sentence?
How do you explain it here? In other words, why is there anything thin for all of these wonderful devotees?
Yes.
Well, in the spiritual world there isn't. It's all thick nectar. But in Bhoma Vrindavan, we find that there's all these demons coming. So that can be seen as the thin, right? Here is it, how are we going to survive this huge bull coming at us? You know, that everyone's scared and so forth. So but they have confidence that Krishna is there with them even then, even when things are dangerous or threatening. And that confidence in Krishna's protection is the difference between, you know, even in most difficult conditions, it shows the advancement, it shows the purity of their love for him. They're confident that he's going to protect. Even though it looks pretty bleak right now, here's this Kaliya demon, he's poisoned the whole river, and Krishna himself is wrapped up, he's a goner, obviously. You know, so now what are we going to do? You know, then Mother Yashoda, they're lamenting, you know, Only Balaram was laughing. He said, "Oh, there's no danger, you know." But you just imagine a multi-headed python, right? Not python, cobra, you know? And he's wrapped up, Krishna, maybe it is a python, anyway. But Krishna's just this delicate little boy, you know? And you have to realize Yoga Maya comes over them so that they can deal with Krishna intimately. Mother Yashoda can chastise Krishna, which he likes, you know? If she saw him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, oh, no. You see? So that therefore the Yoga Maya is coming, and that means that they're in the most, you know, they're just heartbroken. I mean, completely, you know, all of them, and the animals too. And then Krishna, he shows that he is all powerful. He breaks out of it, and then their jubilation is that much greater because now they were so deeply depressed. You see the difference? So that's the thick and thin in the Bhoma Vrindavan. So it happens sometimes. In Goloka Vrindavan, they don't have that. They asked Prabhupada, what about the demons? Because there's so many pastime with the demons in Bhoma Vrindavan, but there's no demons in Goloka. But I said, yes, but sometimes there seems to be a hint of a demon. A big cloud will come and they think, oh, maybe Arastasura is coming or something like that. So then they can have that mood of being saved by Krishna. But in any case, that's the thick and thin when it comes to Krishna's intimate devotees. There really isn't any danger, but there's the appearance of danger. And so they can have that wonderful feeling of being saved by Krishna, and then he loves them so much. You know, that's the idea. Okay?
Yes, okay. Dravida Prabhu, thank you very much. You're most kind.
This was what was so interesting, because Prabhupada chose to put this thick and thin in both of these purports. And there's, you know, the difference is, one is you stay with Krishna through thick and thin, and the other one is he stays with you through thick and thin. Both, you know, and you can have the confidence of that because you know that he'll always protect you. That's one of the principles of surrender. Rakshashyatiti vishwaso, to always have faith that Krishna will protect. You know, and anyway, it's getting late, so we'll adjourn. Thank you all for your attention. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Now I can prepare for my third class in a row tonight.